In the previous video, we looked at why most project careers stall. And the central idea behind that is simple, and that is progression is not mainly driven by experience or effort, it is driven by responsibility. And to understand that properly, we need to see the structure that sits behind most organizations. And in project management environments, that structure looks like a ladder of responsibility. And you can see that structure within government departments, technology companies, consulting firms, and infrastructure programs. Now, the titles attached to those roles vary widely across organizations, but the underlying structure is remarkably consistent. And before we walk through what that ladder looks like, there is one important point to make. And that is titles are an unreliable indicator of the operating level. In one organization, they may actually give you the title of Senior Project Manager, while you're actually carrying out a very constrained level of responsibility. And yet in another organization, they may give you a very modest title, while in reality, you are delivering a level of responsibility for a complex program. So instead of looking at titles, it's better to look at the things that actually change as your responsibility increases. And they are the decisions that you're entrusted to make, and the amount of money exposed to your judgment, and the level of risk you personally carry, and the complexity of the stakeholders that you must manage. Now, those four elements expand as you move up the ladder. And if they're not expanding, your level of responsibility is also not really changing. Most project professionals start their career in some sort of support role, whether that is project support, project coordinator, or PMO analyst. And at this stage, you're actually helping the project stay organized. You update plans, risks, issues, and you ensure that information flows smoothly. Now, what defines this role is that your level of responsibility is still limited. So when a problem arises, you're responsible for tracking it and monitoring it, rather than being asked how to solve it directly. Financial management is mostly limited to reporting spend and budget status. Risk management is mostly administrative. And stakeholder interaction is limited to internal stakeholders whilst reporting progress and managing the flow of information. Now, this stage is extremely important to your career because it's exposing you to the mechanics of delivery. But you are still only supporting delivery rather than owning it. The next stage in the career ladder is project manager, and this is where you actually become accountable for delivery. The move to project manager is the first real shift in responsibility, because at this point the outcome of delivery actually becomes yours. As you're no longer helping someone else to deliver the project, you are now responsible for ensuring that that project delivers its original outcomes. And that changes the dynamic immediately. The project plan is no longer something that you maintain for someone else. You own it. So if the project schedule slips or the budget slips, it is you that needs to explain why. You are making operational decisions every single day. How work is structured, how problems are handled, and what needs to be escalated and what can be managed inside the project itself. And stakeholders start looking to you for answers rather than just project updates. At this stage, this is where most professionals really experience the stress of responsibility. Yes, the project still follows a process, but you are accountable about how that process is being followed to ensure that the project still delivers its outcomes. The shift from support roles to project roles is simple but important. You move from supporting how projects are run to being accountable to how they succeed. but the scope of responsibility is still constrained to a single project. The next step is Senior Project Manager, and this is more than just managing larger projects. It's about operating in environments where judgment is more important than process discipline. Projects tend to be bigger and budgets tend to be higher, and the stakeholders are more senior and the environment is more politically sensitive. And at this level, they're looking for someone who can manage more than just plans. They're looking for someone who can actually manage complexity. You may be dealing with multiple suppliers, stakeholders with competing priorities, and projects that carry significant visibility within the organization. So if something goes wrong, it's more than just a delivery issue. It's an issue that can easily escalate to a political or reputational issue. As senior project managers are simply here to manage complexity. They need to challenge assumptions and help stakeholders understand the implications of their decisions. I mean, they are expected to understand when a risk should be escalated and when it should be managed quietly within the organization. At this level, the role is very much about judgment rather than just managing a project framework. And this is really the real difference between an experienced project manager and a senior project manager. So this role is very much more than just managing delivery. It's about managing complexity. Now, beyond this sits program leadership, and this introduces a new type of responsibility. Instead of just being accountable for a single project, you are now accountable for a group of projects that actually combine a set of outcomes that the organization wanted. Therefore, the perspective changes completely. So individual projects have to deliver their outcomes, but the program leader has to look at the whole picture across the program and a group of projects. Are they aligned? Are they sequenced properly? Are they achieving the results that the organization needs? So the focus is shifting from delivery to sequencing and coordinating. So a delayed project here may have a huge impact on another project, and a shift in scope can actually change the expected outcomes somewhere else. So program management is about protecting value across multiple initiatives, and that moves the overall responsibility from delivery to outcome focused. So you are no longer just focusing on delivering work. You're making sure that that work collectively brings something of value to the organization. And finally, at the top of that ladder sits director's responsibility. And at this level, responsibility is not just about managing change. It's about directing investment and opportunity. And directors are involved in those decisions about what the organization must commit to. So what initiatives should be funded? What level of risk should be exposed to? And what resources should be allocated where and when? As decisions at this level carry significant financial and risk exposure to the organization. Stakeholders are typically senior leaders, board members, regulators, and major clients. And the conversations we have is less about delivery mechanics and more about strategy and financial investment and organizational objectives. Because at program level, you are protecting the value across multiple initiatives. But at director level, you're having discussions about whether that direction should be pursued in the first place. As your career progresses, your role becomes much less about tasks and becomes much more about judgment, responsibility, and consequence.